Welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great week. We know that the NFL draft it's almost here. I am Jay York Football. This is Mic'd Up Sports One. Very busy man. The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. We have a very special guest, creator of the Draft Bible. Just so many good things we're going to talk about that he's doing in the CFL as well as a scout. So let's get to it. What do you say, Sammy?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco. Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, man, we are just a couple of weeks out from the NFL draft. Where the heck has the time gone? I feel like we were just breaking down the Steelers playoff game against the Buffalo Bills a couple of days ago. And obviously this upcoming draft class, well, hopefully they can pair with Russell Wilson, potentially Justin Fields, and take that next step. And we'll break down 2 playoff games. Today we have somebody fantastic to help us talk a little NFL draft. He's got resume as long as a CVS receipt over here, but I think he's most well known for creating the NFL Draft Bible. It's none other than our guy, Ric Serrittela. Rick, what's up, man?
Hey, fellas, here we go, getting sick with it. And you're right. I was just at CVS yesterday. They said, do you want your receipt? I said, yeah, sure. Let me print my receipt. It was like a 5-minute process, but I did get a $5 coupon back, so that was well worth it.
There you go. Heck yeah, man. You're going for some
bargain bin shopping. That's what we need to do.
Somehow you buy like 3 things, and before you know it, you get a receipt like that long. Like what? It's like a naughty list of kids for Christmas, something like that.
They're probably charging you like a processing fee for self-checkout or something like that. That's the way the world works.
Exactly, man. Well, hey, let's talk NFL draft, of course. First of all, if you're joining us, if somebody's joining us and isn't familiar with your work, tell us a little bit about NFL Draft Bible and how it's become this phenomenon.
Yeah, so I was one of those wackadoos like back in the day. It's like circa 2002. If we want to get specific with it, I could count on my hand how many draft sites there were on the planet. And, it was kind of a weird thing covering the NFL draft. Too many people didn't do it. Joel Bucksbaum, who I grew up on with the Pro Football Weekly, passed away. And I kind of, anointed myself to kind of carry that torch. So I started doing this draft publication, and, all the teams winded up subscribing to it. Did it up until last year. This is the first year without the hard copy publication. It evolved into this multimedia platform. I kind of started off with the media background in New York City for 10 years and kind of built up my network, and then eventually launched the Draft Bible and just opened up the doors of great opportunity in this great game of football, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're one of the pioneers. I know Jordan and I always talk about it. I had that when I was like 13 years old, I did like blogspot.com and was firing off my predictions. Like for my mom, she was probably the only person reading it at that point. But I was hitting mock drafts. I remember the first one I did was like the Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown one, and man, the nostalgia behind that absolutely is something that will always stick with me for sure. But we want to talk this class. First of all, what are you hearing? What are the latest murmurs right now? It feels like Caleb Williams is pretty set, number 1 overall. There's a little bit of quarterback chatter of what the heck's going to happen after that. But what are just some things that you're kind of hearing right now that might stand out to the casual fan of the entire NFL?
Well, it ties in. What I'm hearing ties into what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is that, over the last 7 years, I went back and looked. There's been 22 quarterbacks taken in the first round. 14 of those guys are set to start come week 1. So that's almost half of the league in a short period of time. And that's how much, the quarterback position has evolved. Gone are these legends, these greats, these Tom Brady's and these Mannings and these Roethlisbergers and Drew Breeses. You're seeing a whole new face at the quarterback position. And it's a supply and demand need. And if you look at the common denominator of the playoff teams, I don't have to tell Pittsburgh, it's having a good quarterback. And the teams that don't have one are on the outside looking in 9 times out of 10. And that's why you have quarterback row, quarterback alley. What are they calling it? The Broncos, Raiders, Vikings right there trying to move up, because I don't think the Commanders know what they're doing yet. I don't think the Patriots are quite ready to make a decision, because they're waiting to see, are the Vikings going to come and knock our socks off? Are they going to come give us 13 and 23, whatever they got, and next year's draft pick? Am I going to pull that trigger? Or, hey, like New England, number 3, they got to get the quarterback position fixed there. You could say, hey, well, am I going to settle for the third best quarterback? Or you might say, hey, does that solve my problems? Let me stand pat here, because if I don't get one now, when is it going to be my next opportunity? How many years of quarterback purgatory do you want to suffer? Now, if you're the Giants at 6, hey, do I want to give up the farm and top Minnesota for is JJ McCarthy this enormous upgrade over Daniel Jones? Do I want to give up everything, right, for that? So, and to me, I'm not as high on this quarterback class. Like, to me, Caleb Williams is an NFL starter. I don't know if any of these guys, like, I go to bed at night envisioning them hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy at night. I just don't. Michael Penix would be my number 2, probably.
Really interesting.
So, yeah.
JJ McCarthy has been such a fast riser. It feels like in mock drafts back in January, he's like a late first round pick. And now people are talking, top 5. Like, can he sneak above Drake May type 5s?
I think the media just caught up. I think McCarthy's been what he is this whole entire time.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, they try to break him down. They try to break the media. Is very deceptive on what they report, because they try to break down Harbaugh. They try to break down the Wolverines program, but nobody gives this guy credit for the adversity, standing in the face of the bull and taking it by the horn and knocking the bull on his ass like, yo, give me some more. Coach, we got you. Hey, coach, if you're watching, we got you. I mean, JJ McCarthy was the head coach of this football team. Are you kidding me? And then they say, oh, well, he doesn't have the greatest arm strength. And hey, oh, well, maybe his frame isn't big enough. Get out of here. There's nothing that JJ McCarthy cannot do. He can do everything you look for. The problem is he does nothing elite.
Sure.
If you're saying, hey, well, here's the elite, what he's elite at is leadership and intangibles. And people don't like that. But that's a big effing deal.
Yep. We're hanging out with Ric Serrittela here on the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy Advanced Scout, NFL Draft Bible, the whole damn thing. What are teams currently doing right now? Finalizing draft boards. We're a couple weeks out. I'm sure that most of the scouting has been done. Where are they at in the process? And you've got, I'm sure, a bunch of inside looks before. What's going on right now?
Yeah, well, so I think last weekend they were called back for the medical rechecks in Indianapolis, right? So you're probably at this point crossing your T's and dotting the I's on the medical guys, where you're waiting for those final medical reports. What are the doctors saying? How does that stack up on your board? How do you rank these guys? How do you weigh them versus the need, the risk, reward? Because injured guys, that's where gems are found on day 3. Hey, this guy was a day 1 talent, but now suddenly he's sitting there on day 3. So I think you've got to do your due diligence there. There's been a wave of these late pro days, whether it's be Johnny Newton, Cooper DeJean. It seems like every other day, Marius Mims and Brock Bowers, like everybody's having a pro day in mid-April. So that's still happening. But I think for the most part, the board is set. Some teams have a condensed board. Some teams have a bigger board. But yeah, this is where the war room, come January, February, the coaching staff starts getting involved with the process. I would say really the all-star games. And that's where you kind of have the scout and the coach debates. And hey, well, the coaches see all these athletic traits and the scouts are talking about all these off the field issues. And, that's where the GM has to come in and the buck stops with him.
DeJean freaking knocked it out of the park. He's a guy I feel like would look good going from black and gold to black and gold.
Yeah. One of my favorites, by the way. This is really a good cornerback class. Quinyon Mitchell, I think, is number 1 in my book. He's just so big, so physical, so versatile. Terrion Arnold and Cooper DeJean, I mean, they're right there neck and neck, in my opinion. Those are the top 3 cornerbacks. But, man, his basketball highlights are a fun watch too, right? But there's this talk like he can't play corner. He's a safety. The hogwash. I mean, I agree with you, man. He would look great in the black and yellow, man.
I think we all agree. So I think we all know that this is a pretty good offensive line class, but how good is this class? Is it the best you've seen in years? Where would you rate it? And, the Steelers are licking their chops right now, for offensive linemen. I don't even think on the depth chart right now we have a center. Nate Herbig is versatile, but we didn't sign anyone. So,
yeah, and it's funny, the centers on average, I went back and looked on the last 10 years. There's only like 1.4 centers averaging in the first round. There was 9 taken last year, but I think we might have up to 3 in the first round this year because to me, Jackson Powers Johnson, and I'll be honest with you, he might be there on the board for the Steelers because I don't think the league is as high on him as I am. But this guy is like a mobile refrigerator. Like he's a refrigerator on skates. You can't get around him. And he's so powerful and he's so vicious and ferocious. Just how I like my offensive lineman built in the trenches with that nasty. And then you got Zach Frazier, who doesn't get any love because like the mainstream media, if you're injured or you don't work out at the combine or you're not in the Senior Bowl, we can't talk about you. But this guy was 159 wins and 2 losses as a wrestler back in high school. I mean, you get this guy in the trenches with the grappling, man. And the angles Zach Frazier to me is a first round talent. And, Graham Barton, who began his career at center at Duke and then finished as a left tackle, started at right tackle. In fact, this guy, I think he started all 5 positions, but he's embraced the center role again. And I think there's 3 guys right there at the center position, just outstanding. Cooper Beebe, the guard, to me, is a first round talent, might not go until day 2. What a steal he's going to be. But then you get to the tackles and it's Joe Alt. What a incredible, a Greek god, right? Like if I were to take a lump of clay and just mold the prototype offensive lineman. And here we are because of all the quarterbacks, of all the receivers, like nobody talks about Joe Alt or Brock Bowers. It's unbelievable. This guy would be like in any other draft considered maybe the number 1 overall pick. He's that good. Right?
He's just not as sexy as the other guys. You don't have that sexy.
Well, the league now, we talked about the turnover and the league has changed rapidly. Everybody needs a quarterback. And what do you need to have a successful quarterback? Go ask Caleb Williams or the quarterback Justin Fields and Daniel Jones. You got to have weapons. That's why Chicago now is trying to trade up from 9 into 4 or 5 to get Marvin Harrison, even after signing 2 wide receivers, because they need weapons. Any good quarterback needs weapons. And so guys like Joe Alt, guys like Brock Bowers are going to drop. But Tuaga from Oregon State, there's a little durability issues there. He's a great talent. Penn State, Fashanu, he didn't get to work out leading up to the draft because of that nagging. I think he at the combine, he had the hammy on the 40, didn't work out at his pro day. I was there. So, again, out of sight, out of mind. But remember, Fashanu and Alt, neck and neck for most of the season. So, the guys I'm not as high on, Taylor Guyton, I didn't see it at the Senior Bowl. Everybody was like in awe and shock of how, big and agile he is. But can he block? I don't know. Adarius Mims, again, injury concerns. J.C. Latham, probably a right tackle. I think the Steelers are set there. So, good depth up front, but some of these guys on the back end, they come with some concern there.
Yeah, that's interesting what you said about Mims, because I've never, heard that, because I think Mike actually just did a draft profile on him, and he
had that blood spinning, that stem cell blood spinning procedure done recently.
Yeah.
He's a popular.
That's why he didn't test yesterday. I think 2 days ago at the personal pro day. No testing, just positional work.
He's the most popular name mocked to the Steelers right now. Mims, for what it's worth. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead, Jordan.
So we talked, okay, we know the Steelers needed offensive linemen, but with this wide receiver class, do you think that there is a chance that they could pull the trigger at 20? And what wide receiver? Like, we had guys like Jalen Coker, like 5th, 6th round guys, and I know that you're real big on sleepers, especially with this draft class as deep as it is overall in a lot of positions. It's a very deep draft class. which is good because teams need depth. But just talk about, do you think that is a part? Anything's on the table at this point. We have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett's an Eagle. Like, things have just mind-boggling. But at pick number 20, do you think it's a realistic, and maybe what percentage?
Well, first of all, you can't just blow by my guy out of Holy Cross, Jalen Coker.
Yeah,
Mr. 40-inch vertical.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him and Cooper DeZean in a slam dunk contest.
Let's go.
But, right. But I'll tell you what, the problem is, right, this is where you get put in a jam, because I'm a big firm believer you draft best available talent. When you start drafting for need, that's where you get killed. Now, there's X factors, the variable. If you wait until the second round for an offensive tackle, you're too late.
Really?
If you want a wide receiver on day 2, they're still going to be hanging out. So that's the difference. And that's the kind of, you say, hey, what are the teams doing inside the war room? They're talking through those scenarios. Well, hey, if X, Y, and Z is on the board, we're going to go here. If X, Y, and Z goes that way. But to me, like, if you do want to think about wide receiver, Brian Thomas might still be available out of LSU. You're looking at maybe Xavier Worthy, a guy you just play pitch and catch with. I'm a big fan of Keon Coleman out of Florida State. I think too many people get hemmed up on the 40-yard dash time. Did you see him run through the gauntlet drill? 23 miles per hour, faster than anybody. I mean, I want game speed, baby. Buckle up.
Yeah.
And to me, the one guy I'm higher on, and I I've been told he's not going to go in the first round. I don't see how he doesn't, but Ladd McConkey, to me, is just a phenomenal talent. Talk about a playmaking weapon in space. You can do so many end arounds and bubbles and screens and kind of a Percy Harvin type, I think. Wow. And that would be a great addition.
I haven't heard that name in a while. Yeah,
well, hey, didn't Percy have a cup of tea with Russ there in Seattle? So I think that would be a good
I liked it.
I think he won a Super Bowl. Maybe a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, I think so.
And I love watching him at Ohio State. You're throwing out a bunch of Bulldogs for us. Bowers, McConkey, Mims. The Steelers love them some Bulldogs. Pickens, Broderick Jones, Darnell Washington. So
pretty good team to pick from.
I can see it happening, brother. I certainly can see it happening. Hey, I want to talk Steelers from a non-draft perspective. Russell Wilson comes to town. Did that shock you? And what are your thoughts on the fit?
I think it was an upgrade. I think it will be a good fit. I think the part that shocks me is that Pittsburgh was shocked that Justin Fields was still available after the fact. And I think what Mike Tomlin did was kind of get himself in a pickle.
Really?
Because it was Tomlin the one that so Tomlin's the one who urged this Russell Wilson deal. And he said, this is not just a one-year tryout thing. This is something that we're going to extend and take and ride to the wheels fall off. And he made such a convincing argument to ownership that he got everybody on board with this move. And then when they found out Justin Fields was available, I think Tomlin kind of had to pump the brakes with how much, anybody who watched football last year would tell, hey, dude, who do you want to start your team with, Justin Fields or Russell Wilson? I mean, I want with Justin Fields.
Wow. Okay.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I thought Justin Fields. I don't know. I thought Justin Fields showed me more guts and desire and passion and putting the team on his back. They say he can't throw the ball. Well, give the guy a little bit of time and maybe he can do a little bit better. But I'll tell you what, if Justin Fields was in this year's draft, he'd be the number 2 quarterback in my book.
Wow.
So I think Tomlin talked up Russell Wilson so much and then found out that Justin Fields was available. I was like, yo, that's my dog. That's my guy. Let me get him. But he persuaded ownership and the GM and everybody else to come to the other side on Russell Wilson. So he kind of had to toe the line there when it came to saying, hey, well, Russ is our guy. Let's just say then suddenly the report came out, well, you know what? They're going to wait till after the season to do that contract extension. Let's just see how this thing plays out, because I think there's a lot of talk right now in the offseason But the NFL is a bottom line business, and I do believe Russell Wilson will be on a very short leash.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just going to ask that if Justin Fields comes in and looks like the clear number one quarterback, but Tomlin has that loyalty to Wilson, you think Wilson's starting regardless of what happens? I would imagine that's what I think. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Jordan, you got anything else for Rick?
No, I just wanted to talk real quick, some non-Steeler about your what if I get this right, is it 14 Grey Cups? Is a scout?
Well, yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm just along for the ride in Edmonton.
Yeah, just talk about that, and that's just such an awesome feat.
Well, the 14-time CFL Grey Cup champion, Edmonton Elks head coach Chris Jones, also general manager, has four Grey Cups under his belt. Our assistant GM, G. Roy Simon, a couple of Grey Cups to his resume as well. Of course, a CFL Hall of Famer, and they brought me on board this year to help in the scouting department. And so very honored and very excited. I can tell you that nobody in America or the world really in terms of a football front office has worked harder this offseason. We don't leave any stone unturned. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you see, and I've been all over this great country looking for talent. I'm going to be in Jersey tomorrow working out 50 guys. I'll be in Dallas on Sunday working out another crew of guys. In between, I'm going to sneak in a UFL game, go see my guy Von Hutchins and the DC Defenders. I got my DC Defender hat ready for the trip. So, yeah, and then it's off to training camp. Like CFL starts next month. So we got McLeod Bethel Thompson was our big offseason signing at quarterback, and man, just looking forward to it, guys.
Rick, do you like?
Maybe you guys can get up. Maybe you guys can get up.
Yeah.
Or the producers that are in Montreal can get over to Edmonton for a game, eh?
To the good side.
They need to. Yeah, absolutely. That's a little easier sell to them, I think, just because of location and geography. But if they're picking up the flight ticket, we'll be there.
We'll see what we can work out backstage.
Yeah, you have anything, Mike? Yeah, I had one more question, and Micah, you can, before we get you out of here, Rick, again, appreciate your time and just great expertise on everything. Do you think that with the off, and I know the draft is still happening, but just a ballpark, do you think that this Steelers team is, can win 2 more games, maybe make a deeper playoff run, maybe win a playoff game? Where do you see like the ceiling for this going in to this season?
I think they're in the tier 2 category of the AFC where they're not tier 1. Like tier 1 is Kansas City. Obviously, Baltimore is tier 1. I'd probably put like Buffalo's record didn't indicate it, but again, as long as Josh Allen is your dude, right? Like Joe Burrow, like the AFC is going to run through those guys. Now you've got Russell Wilson. I don't want to downplay the fact that he has 2 Super Bowl championships. Like if he starts drinking from the fountain of youth, like Sierra starts pouring that fountain of youth tea, and he finds it, he revitalizes.
That's what we're hoping,
himself, right? I mean, you could find lightning in a bottle now, right?
I want whatever
Sierra's
pouring.
And you can ride that.
Yeah.
Now, the running back there's got to start running a little bit tougher for his size, I'll tell you that much. But they got to find some weapons, and we just talked about that. But the tight ends, I like what they did there. Got to get better on the exterior. The defense is going to be there, and I'll tell you, Tomlin. I mean, this guy's a future Hall of Fame head coach, in my opinion. So I never bet against that man. But I do think they're a playoff team that's capable of winning a game as they're constructed now. If you get the Seattle version of Russell Wilson as opposed to the Denver version of Russell Wilson, well, then I think they've got as good a shot as anybody.
There you have it.
Love it. Love it. Hey, man, we don't bet against you. Ric Serrittella, absolute pleasure having you on, my guy.
Thank you.
I know you got to run. What'd you say? You got daughter's sports practice or something over there?
Man, I don't know. What's today? Thursday,
Cool.
Girl Scouts? I don't know. I can't keep up. Dance, gymnastics, we're all over the place.
What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie? You got a favorite Girl Scout cookie for me?
Yeah, I'm a traditionalist. The mint chocolate chip in the freezer, right? I can't. I probably bought about a dozen boxes. So always have some handy. They're like gifts now when people come over to the house. Like, hey, you want some chocolate chip mint?
Trying to get rid of them. At that point.
There you go. 14-time Grey Cup winner, Dad of the Year. There you have it.
Yep. And Girl Scout cookie aficionado. Thank you, brother.
Girl Scout
Thanks,
cookie
Rick.
champion.
We'll do it again soon.
Post draft, we'll do it. Thanks, Rick.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Much love.
Yes, sir.
Take care. Yeah, man, it's time.
I got a bunch of Girl Scout cookies in my freezer too right now, but I'm a classic Samoa guy. I like the coconut, the dark chocolate, little caramel on top of that. I get the Thin Mints too. However, I don't. It's funny because I don't really like anything
I don't like
mint.
Yeah,
like I don't even like York
mint
peppermint
chocolate
patties. That's your last name, literally.
I could do the
that.
York peppermint patties, but like mint chocolate chip ice cream, I've never been. I'm a vanilla chocolate. Actually, I like Twist. I just was at the Pirate game and.
That sounds beautiful on a summer day. You had it in like 35-degree weather though. Your
we raised it, so it doesn't matter if it would have been in defeat. It would have. But when you raised,
you didn't get the pierogi hot dog.
No, man. What did I get? A burger and chicken tenders. Kept it simple.
That's it. All right, I want to review like 4 takes before we jump off of here because these are takes that are unpopular. I'll put it that way around Steelers circles. First take was he doesn't love Amarius Mims, injury history and experience. Second take was he is very high on Jackson Powers Johnson, who is falling down boards because he didn't do much in the pre-draft process, and people are starting to see his length issues after workouts at top 30 visits, different spots, things like that. He wants Justin Fields to play over Russell Wilson. That's another one right there. And there was a fourth one that I'm missing. Maybe it was a wide receiver thing.
He was real high on Zach Frazier, and I know
he was high on Zach Frazier too. Wrestler. He's got that kind of badass like background. Both Rick has it and Zach has it. I feel like Rick was probably a wrestler at some point in his life too. And he liked Graham Barton a lot. So, my other favorite quote right here: if you don't take a tackle in the first round, round 2 is too late, is what he said. If you don't take a tackle in the first, round 2 is too late. So I've mocked a guy like Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, corners, receivers as Steelers at 20. The guys they've brought in so far are first-round talents. They've brought in Fuaga, Mims, Fatanu, and Guyton just today. You don't get those guys in the second round. I think he's on to something there. The second-round tackles represent poor value. The second-round receivers, centers definitely represent higher value. So I'm absolutely leaning tackle at pick 20, and I don't hate a trade down idea either, considering the depth of this tackle class. Not too far, not into the second round now, because you're going to miss out on Guyton probably and Mims if he falls, but a handful of spots back. I'm absolutely open to that, brother.
Yeah, I'll say this, and we'll just end on this. Like, it's just cool getting someone from a different perspective that's not like a local guy, and you could really, take for what they're saying at value, because it's not like they're like rooting for the Steelers. They're just giving and that's what he does, with NFL Draft Bible and scouting and football. So just a great episode. Appreciate everyone hanging out. We're gonna, be rolling along with these great draft personalities and draft profiles. So it's coming up. Get ready. Before you know it, OTAs will be here.
If you missed any of our recent episodes, we've had some great players on who are making a lot of noise in draft circles. Chris Braswell last week, Alabama edge, who actually had some great interactions with the Steelers. You said the name earlier this episode, Jalen Coker, wide receiver sleeper out of Holy Cross.
He liked that.
Rick knew all about that 40-inch vert. And then Matt Goncalves out of Pitt, offensive lineman, who could be a candidate in the third or fourth round for the Steelers. So I feel that, man. Yeah.
Well, it's been great hanging out with everyone. Get some rest, enjoy the weekend, and this has been another great episode of the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. We'll see you next week. Make sure you like and subscribe for all our content. We'll see you around.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.